Hi, welcome to Let's Talk About Death. I'm Tammy Beilstein.
And I'm Sarah Lunsford, and we're still in the cemetery.
Still here.
Yes, as you can see, the mausoleum behind us.
It's so beautiful.
It is. It's very beautiful, peaceful.
Could actually be out here all day.
And it's an old cemetery, too.
Yeah.
So you see a lot of the miners, the old gold rush miners.
Right. It's surprising to see some of those dates on these headstones as you walk around. Really cool.
Yes, very.
Really cool. I love to think of all the people who touched them. And
and they lived their lives.
Yeah.
Each of them represents someone who lived their own unique life, which is just fascinating.
Neat to think about.
Yeah.
And they chose right here.
And they chose right here.
For their shell to spend eternity there. It is really neat out here.
Yes, it is. It is.
So we thought that this episode we would talk about caskets and coffins and shrouds and the different things that people can be buried in.
Exactly. And you have actually a wide variety, a lot of choice as to what you would like to be buried in if you choose to be buried, and it's just as wide of a financial choice as well. And that's a personal choice, what you want to be buried in. Like I said in our last or one of our prior episodes, I would like to be buried in a box.
Yes,
just
she wants a plain box. Yeah.
So, you know.
And you can do that.
And you can do that.
People are allowed to build their own caskets.
Yes, they are.
Also.
They are.
You probably don't want me to build it, though.
No, you want,
I'm not so handy. Someone who knows what they're doing.
Exactly, like an artisan, maybe artisan woodworker to build your casket if you want to, but make sure you plan it ahead of time because they need to, to have some time to put something like that together.
Yeah.
So make sure. You know, if you want that sort of a coffin, make sure to plan for that. But you know, you can go to the mortuary, and there are choices there as to coffins. But there's a lot beyond that as well. There's wicker coffins. My aunt was buried in a wicker coffin.
She was?
And yes, and it was. Those are all hand woven.
Gorgeous.
And they're not assembly line at all. And the price tag proves it.
Yeah.
But those are artisan, and those would qualify to go into a green cemetery as well.
Right. That's beautiful. And you know, if people chose to say if they couldn't afford the wicker, but they wanted something that was really homey and personalized, which I think wicker would feel like to me. If someone chooses to have any sort of plain coffin, even a cardboard box, which you can get from the mortuary, very sturdy cardboard box, the family can decorate that and paint it or put you know, notes of love on the outside or family photos and decoupage. I mean, it's up to you, but that's one of the neat things about having the time to do something like that. And I think it begins the grieving process also for the family.
It does.
To decorate something like that special for their loved one.
Definitely.
But cardboard, wicker, the metal caskets. There are so many to choose from.
There's a lot to choose from.
You mentioned the quality of caskets. There are places where you can buy caskets online, and I guess it's hard to name where, like Walmart, Costco. I mean, there's so many places where you can buy caskets online, and they do send them to the mortuary very quickly. So all of that is good, but we don't always know the quality of the casket that you're buying. You know, you need to make sure that it's sturdy, especially if you're going to have pallbearers carrying something like that, that the handles are sturdy. And,
there's still a person inside of there, or the body of a person is still inside. So, you know, you need to make sure, like Tammy said, the handles are sturdy. The pallbearers can carry the coffin without worrying that something is going to fall off. Yeah. So it's, you know, it can be a little dicey. And in general, you know, you just don't know.
Right.
You know, until you get the coffin.
Yeah.
So
that's why I love doing everything local. Yeah. I mean, whether it's from the local mortuary or a local craftsperson.
Yes, exactly.
Or basket weaver. Yeah. Or anyone. Or even the shroud, you know, if you're going to buy a beautiful cloth to wrap the body in. I would want to be able to see it myself and feel it and know what I'm buying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Not that if you choose to do it online, there's anything wrong with that. Of course, I mean, it's up to you. But we're just throwing that out there.
Yeah,
That,
it's a choice.
yeah.
I mean, and there's a lot of choices to make, which is why we like to talk about death and everything that's surrounding it, because it opens up the conversation of the choices that you have.
Yeah. Yeah. So many.
Yeah. There's a lot. And
Talking
then there's
about is the first step.
Yeah, that's the very first step. There are special coffins for areas that flood.
Yes, there are. There are. I don't know if we talked about that on camera or not before.
No, we
but
haven't talked about it on camera.
You know, when I worked at the mortuary, I was well, from the time I was a little girl till I was about 20 or so, and because then we moved up here. Yeah, I love this area. But anyway, we had caskets, full caskets in the showroom back then. Now most of them have just a partial casket, so you can see basically what the inside and outside look like. But we had the full caskets in there. Yeah. And so the family would come and walk through the showroom, and they would see these big price tags, and some people would be like, I want that one because it costs the most. It must be the best. Yeah. And I would actually say to them, what you're buying here is this liner around the outside. It's like a rubber gasket around the top, where the lid closes. Yeah. And some of them have a little tube that goes into the end. It's a glass tube, and inside it is a piece of paper where it says a person's name, date of birth and death, and what cemetery they're in, what plot number they're in, that sort of thing. And that is for areas that flood. Because when the caskets come up, or out of the ground, or out of the mausoleum, whatever they're in, and they go floating down the street,
Which draws a picture, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. You want to know who that is and where they belong without, having to do a whole ordeal of opening that up. And who knows what goes into that. Yeah. But we were in California. That doesn't really happen here. And
but it could happen where you live.
But I would absolutely say you don't need to spend that money here, because some places
in a dry state,
some places, I a lot of corporate places are more like about the dollar, some of them, and they might not tell the family what that is for.
Exactly.
If you don't need to spend that money, do not spend it. If you're in an area where something like that is needed, then yes, look into that. But there are so many different designs and styles. I would think they're all basically the same shape. How many choices could there be? Oh
there
my
are
gosh.
A lot. Yeah. A huge amount.
Number. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And like we mentioned earlier, depending on whether you're buried or your loved one is buried in a green cemetery, that makes a big difference as well. And so
because they have their own rules.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so you almost need to figure out, well, not almost, you need to figure out where you want to be buried, and buy the plot, because that's another thing. We mentioned it in another show, is that when you're being buried in a cemetery, beyond the veterans ones, you need to pay for your plot. And that's going to determine what sort of coffin you end up having, and tombstones, and memorial markers, or any of those sort of things. So there's some decisions that need to be made first, and everything else sort of comes from them. So it's important to remember.
That all adds up.
It does.
It does add up. So again, it's good to talk about it beforehand. Some places will let you do pre-arrangements, and you can start making payments if that's something you want to do.
Exactly.
I would recommend putting it in your own account in case you want to move and want to go to a different mortuary or cemetery later.
And that's another thing we'll talk about eventually, is if you decide that you don't want to deal with the mortuary that you have been dealing with, that you have a choice to move to a different mortuary. You are not locked into the one that a caregiving home or hospice or anybody tells you to go to. You have a choice. You have a choice. And sometimes it doesn't feel like you have a choice, but you always have a choice. If you don't like the mortuary you're dealing with, move on. Exactly. Exactly. You would have to do it quickly if you're doing it after the fact, like when somebody dies. After someone dies. You have to do it quickly.
Yes.
But which goes to the, pre-planning thing.
Yes.
You know, take your tour, meet with people.
Yeah.
But you always have a choice in all of this, and you just have to think about what choices you would like to make or your loved one would like to
and then put
make.
them in writing.
And put them in writing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly. So I
good.
think
Did we cover it?
I think we covered the coffins.
Yeah.
Right?
I think we did.
Yeah.
Again, if we left something out, let us know.
Yeah, let us know, because we do love to hear from you.
Yeah, and we're just talking as a couple of girlfriends here with you, and so
Yeah.
chime in.
Yeah, chime in, please.
Anyway, I think we're good.
Thanks.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.